So you've hit that perfect drive and you've got that short wedge into the green, and you go ahead and chunk it. Welcome to the channel, guys. My name's Danny Malcolm. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, if that's you struggling with those heavy shots after a perfect drive with your wedges and it's getting really frustrating, then this video is really going to help. I'm going to be sharing 3 keys to help you improve your strike on those distance wedges. Now, firstly, guys, strike is absolutely paramount. Before you can start talking about how to judge different yardages, you've got to ensure that the strike is good, because without that, the distance doesn't really matter. It's hard to be consistent. So one of the ways I like to describe it, if I was going to throw a ball over to one of my buddies that's over there, and if he was just that little bit closer, I'd throw it perfectly into his hands. If he went a bit further away, I'd again throw it perfectly into his hands. So instinctively, I'm judging that distance, and maybe swinging a bit faster, of course. But one thing that's consistent there is how I release the ball, how I throw. Like, we can all pretty much throw the ball, but in golf, if we haven't got that throw, that release, or that strike consistent, then the speed at which we're throwing doesn't really matter. For example, if I'm going to try and throw it out to there and my release or that strike isn't good, that's an example of a heavy shot in golf. So we've got to ensure that the strike's correct first before we even start going on to length of swing and these ideas, which of course are important. But let's get that strike first. So 3 keys to help you with that strike. Firstly, is we're trying to create more stability with the body. Now, when we're looking at distance wedges, controlling that low point, the point at which we strike the ball, then the turf, is so important. So if we're moving too much with our body, swaying off the ball, moving off the ball, getting a bit taller, too low, the more we move our centers around, the more difficult it is to find strike and to find that low point. So very easy to then hit behind the ball, catch it heavy, maybe even catch it thin. So one thing to look out for is creating more stability in your pivot and how you move. So a really great drill here is what I call the shadow drill. So very simply, you can get a golf ball, place one where your head would be, try and get outdoors for this with the sun, and then place one where your hips would be. So you've got 2 golf balls there, and this is really going to just show you how your centers are moving. So just on my head and my pelvis, without a golf club here, I could just be moving my body, trying to maintain both those golf balls in the middle of my pelvis, in the middle of my head. What a lot of players are doing is they're swaying off the ball either with their lower half or with their lower and upper half. It's making it harder to get that timing and get that low point correct. So a great drill, turn, keeping it very centered, and then from there you want to just shift a few inches forward and then through into the finish. So this piece here is going to really ensure that you're going to deliver that club consistently into the back of the ball. So a wonderful one there, guys. And when you get the feel of that, you can bring it over to the golf ball. I'd also recommend filming yourself from this angle if you can. A lot of these apps these days, you can just draw a line on your trail hip and even a circle on your head, and what you're looking for is that stability in the backswing. So yes, we want rotation. Now again, this is not a big powerful swing. We're not looking to create long distance with this. We're looking to create good strike. So we don't need big moves off the ball or anything like this. Just a nice turn, very centered. The hips don't move past that line. The head doesn't move out of the circle, either sideways or up or down, and that's just going to help make it more consistent when it comes back to that strike. So the less variables we have, guys, the more consistent we can be. So not that we're trying to be a robot at all with these swings, but we're trying to be very stable, very centered with our turn, a little shift forward, and that's just going to help us get that ball turf contact. So a couple of beautiful little strikes there with the wedge. So that's the first one, guys. Not moving too much off the ball, managing that sway with that shadow drill is a wonderful one to help you be more consistent with strike. Okay, key number 2 is having the golf club on plane. So when we talk about having the club on plane, we're trying to get the club tracking up this original shaft plane here to a degree, and then coming back down into impact. Imagine a big circle. We're trying to swing on that circle around our body. Now with wedges, what a lot of people are often doing is bringing their full swing into their distance wedge play. It's not ideal, particularly for guys or players that might have a swing where maybe a longer swing. If we're a little bit off plane in the backswing, we've got time sometimes to then shallow it back out to get it on plane. Conversely, you might have some players that come inside and then they find that plane back on the downswing. But ultimately, all the ball really cares about is this piece and getting on plane where it's the most important. But to be more consistent, we want that club on plane for longer, particularly with the distance wedge where the swing is shorter. We haven't got time to reroute things. So a couple of drills you can do. Grab your alignment rods for this, guys. A couple of ideas here. One, you can set up to the ball, have the shaft and get an alignment rod in line with that shaft and bring it back so that you're not going to hit it if you swing, but it just gives you this visual, this idea of now trying to swing the golf club up and down that plane, up and down that plane. Now you see very quickly if you start to come out, it's going to make it harder to time it to come back in, or if you come too far inside, it's going to be harder to time it. So just training that up and down the plane is a great one to do slow, and then you can progress into hitting shots with that. But that's a key factor when it comes to consistent strikes, because if you start to swing this way too much and we start to come too much into out, very easy to start to get your low point too far back, very easy to get those strikes back here. You can do fat or heavy or thin strikes. Conversely, if we get too far this way, now we're swinging too far to the left for the right hander, that can shift the low point too far forward, again causing a whole host of strike issues. So the red flag for strike can be that swing plane. So there's a great one. If you want to take it that little step further with that, another training you can do is take your setup here and now get another alignment rod, place it back in line with your shaft. Now from here we're going to get the club, place it on. Now this takes a bit of work when you first do it, but really what we're going to do here is just hold that in place, and you can see that that club is on plane. Now again, a shorter swing, I haven't got much time to reroute things on the downswing, so I'd much rather have it on plane here halfway back, and then from there you can swing back up that plane and then back down and actually hit shots doing that. So it's a really good one just to get a feel and awareness of where you want to be in that backswing. So placing the end of the stick in line with your ball to target line, place the butt of your club on the rod, and try and get your hands, typically for most players, somewhere opposite their armpit would be a good idea, as the lead arm is parallel with the ground. Now from here, let go of the stick, swing up to the top a little bit and swing on through. And you see from that swing there, that is very much on plane, so that's going to help eliminate one of those other red flags for strike errors. So a couple of technical ideas there, guys, from front on and from down the line, that's really going to help with that. Now the final piece is developing that skill of getting that good strike. So even with that, even if your technique's sound, yes, it's going to give you a better chance of good strike, but it's not going to guarantee it. So what I'd encourage you there, guys, is then to work on that skill, start to learn to use that swing and really refine the skill aspect. So grab yourself 2 tees for this, guys. Simply draw a line, score a line with a tee, pop a tee on either side of that line. Now this is going to start to develop your skill and refine those soft skills of where you land in the club. Ideally, if the ball's starting on this side of the line, what we'd want to see is that club as it comes in, just clipping the bottom piece of the ball first and then contacting the ground and then coming back out of the ground. So we want to see that entry into the ground certainly after that line. So what I'd really encourage you to do for this, guys, is just starting without a ball and just getting a sensation of where's my club landing. Right, just after that line is the goal. Now again, if you hit too far behind, it could be because your body swayed too much, it could be because you've come too much inside. If it's too far forward, it could be again your body's gone too far forward, or the club swinging too far out to in. So there's these ideas that can make it more challenging to find strike. So what I also love about this, there's some different ways to pitch. Typically for a distance wedge, you'd like to not see too much wrist set. You'd pretty much have whatever you've got here at address. As you turn, you've still got a bit of wrist hinge, but you're not adding too much more. Again, the more you add with that, the more variables and more you've got to time things. So I would encourage, this drill would really help because you'll find the correct amount of width and hinge for you that's going to help you hit that spot every time. If you get too hingy and too narrow, the likelihood is you're going to miss that ground and be up here somewhere. So again, just a great one to manage that low point, and then you can put a ball in. And this is great because it gives you instant feedback of where you're striking it. So from here, I've had a few little practice goes, and that was a perfect strike, low point just after the golf ball there, or entry into the turf. And again, just a great one to develop the skills. So I'm very centered, to recap guys, very centered with my pivot, very stable. My club is on plane, and now I'm developing that skill of low point control. And that's really, again, going to be huge for your distance wedges. That was a beautiful strike there. So guys, there's my top 3 tips help you improve your distance wedges. If you can get that strike more consistent, then you can start to progress to that next level of working on different length swings, different speeds to help give those different distances. So guys, I hope that helped. If you've got any comments, please post them below. And if you'd like any more tips to help you improve your game, there's also a link in the description below as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.